What's going on, guys? SeeJay here, and in today's video I want to do my first take of a team breakdown and kind of deep dive analysis. And today we're going to start with a Haradrim. All right, guys, so I wanted to start with Haradrim because the two teams that I'm currently working on and have like a vetted interest in really pushing further on my account, and just generally speaking, one of the teams that really interested me when I started playing the game because of the way that they work was the Haradrim. They're very like rogue-esque. And I'm like a mage rogue fan in most kind of games. So if I'm playing like mostly Blizzard games, but any RPG game, those are kind of like the two classes that I generally am aimed towards and like the style. And we don't really have like a mage class in this game, obviously, but they're very like rogue-like, right? They have like the poisons, they've got the daggers and swords. They're very like kind of quick and nimble. They got the crit, like they kind of just fill that class fantasy. And even just from like the movies and such, like they're just like a cool, some of these guys don't really actually even, exist, or kind of like made up characters. But the Haradrim squad is just like a great team. Like when I'm playing this game, elves is an awesome group, but like everybody loves elves, so I'm not gonna just jump on the bandwagon and start playing the Rivendels or the elves in general. Like everybody's a Legolas fan, and some of the big characters. I've always really liked dwarfs, but for the sake of this video and because of just the time that I put into some of these characters, like better understand their kits and how they work and so on and so forth, and just kind of like just overall research into them and like what I need to be doing for these characters, I wanted to start with Haradrim. So let's go ahead and dive into Haradrim and sort of what my plan here is on this video. I don't want to make it super long, so we're going to kind of dive in quick. We're going to go over it pretty high level so we can keep this to a not like 30-minute video. All my videos tend to be like double the time that I anticipate when I start hitting the record button. So I apologize for some of the longer ones that I've posted, especially recently. But if we're going to look at this, a couple of big things. So Haradrim is a great team to invest in. Outside of Tibeb, which is an absolute disaster because of the challenge shop. Hopefully that gets reworked at some point. It does create the unfortunate circumstance that you're gonna have to just take the slow and steady process of getting Tibeb actually start up, because it's the most miserable store in the game to get the character shards. Outside of that, everything else is in a pretty good spot. Wubete is completely easily farmable through the stores. Bekelu is an easy farm now that she's in the guild shop. And then Robel and Yeftu are 16 times 5, so 80 energy per day farming nodes. But they, it's not bad, right? Like they're just your normal hard campaign farm, so nothing crazy. So most of these characters you can get, and it doesn't actually require a lot of energy, because again, if you're farming Bekelu in the guild and you're farming 2 in the campaign, that, and you got Wubete in the store, and then you got technically Tibeb in the store. Tibeb's the only outlier that's a little bit of a pain to go after, and I didn't start playing the game when Haradrim was one of the marquees, so I'm actually missing 100 shards that you would have got by just participating in the marquee event. So a little bit, I'll always bring that up when I can, because I'm salty about it, because of how long a grind it is. Like that 100 shards would be absolutely insane to have right now. But anyways, team as a whole, they're very good together. They're some of the characters are a little bit plug and play. You can kind of use them on other teams if you have them built out. Like Wubete is a great campaign farming character. He's also just like a generally okay tank to have if you want to just kind of like use a decently upgraded character on your account on like a Rohan squad, or kind of slipping in that Ironhide, kind of like those characters that don't really have a full team home. He's definitely great there. But as a full Haradrim squad, they're easily a top 5, if not top 3 raid team overall in the game for Mines of Moria. So most of the chapters are going to be like a top 5, top 6 team no matter what, but their specialty is chapter 2. The cave troll is their bitch. When you have them built out, so like they're squishy as hell. So when they're not built out and you're trying to push that next tier of difficulty, they're going to get slapped. But if you have them built out, and I don't even have them fully built out, but Teacher's a great resource. He's put a lot of time into this team. He's got some great videos on kind of like how they can work when they're actually like at their pretty much max, not quite max, but almost max potential. They do some great things across all the raids, but especially chapter 2, because again, Black Serpent's poison is their specialty. That is what they're doing. They're applying poisons on the enemy. So putting the poison is a damage that doesn't care about what the HP is of the enemy. It's just a flat HP scaling damage done to the enemy, right? So like it's a flat percentage. So that does a lot of damage to the cave troll. The other thing is they're crit machines. They're built to build into their kit crit. and crit is how you take the stacks off the cave troll. So again, great team specifically for chapter 2, but they work across all 4 chapters as a pretty good team just to have built out and have them in your arsenal of teams in your roster that you can use. Outside of that, the other big thing for this team is the leadership ability is focused on the passives being shared amongst the whole squad. So one reason why you want Haradrim as a whole is because, well, the passives are shared across everybody, which is fantastic. The passives also are pretty cool. Some of them give like additional crit chance. Some of them give always inflicting Black Serpent poison when you crit, which is, again, like their bread and butter to their kit. And then some of them give, like Wubete gives a heal passive, so up to 3% heal every time you attack an enemy. I think that well, again, we'll dive into this, but I'm pretty sure it's every time you attack an enemy that has the Black Serpent poison applied to them. So again, if you're getting all those crits off, everyone's getting Black Serpent poisoned, and then everybody is hitting the enemies. They're all getting passively healed themselves through Webete's passive. So it's a cool kind of design where they all sort of share this passive comp, right? Like they don't have, like the leader doesn't have like one crazy a passive, but rather a passive that it gives everybody the passives, right? So it's kind of a cool design. The thing is though, is because the passives are shared amongst the team and there's not like an overpowered leadership ability, they all kind of require a lot of buildup. So whether that be stars, level, and gear requirements, it also is a big investment into their abilities. So a couple things to keep in mind, like my squad here, I've got 2 maxed out. I don't have anyone G9'd. I've got a couple of G8s. I think also G8 somebody else on this list based off my resources, but my luminous crystals are getting a little tight and I'm trying to finish Arwen to G8. And I think I can even G9 Bekelu if I recall. So like I actually have quite a bit of resources to keep building the squad. I'm kind of waiting till Tibeb hits 5, Robel hits 6, and then maybe like really put like a big push into this team to go like a step further than they are right now. I'm also at the point where I'm kind of doing that give and take, where my guild energy is being really focused on chapter 5 farming because I desperately need the rare ability materials, the purple materials at this point in the game, because most of my teams have like 4s, even some are less. Like this team has a lot of 3s still. I don't have many 6s at all on my roster. Mainly just like Lord Elrond and I think Elro here, maybe a couple other random abilities or 6s, but like I need to start getting a lot of Rivendell to 6. I need to get this team to 6. I need to start building up Bomber because I want to use him in PvP to 6 on most of his abilities. So I really need the purple materials, and it sucks because I still have characters that I want to get to like 5, 6, and 7 star in the guild shop or the guild campaign for the nodes. So it's like it's such a tough balance of, okay, do I focus the characters or do I focus the resources? And right now I'm like, I gotta get my purple materials. I just have to. So that's where I'm at in the game right now. But anyways, let's dive into it. So priority from a leveling / gearing perspective, in my opinion, I would start with Wubete. I think you're probably already working on him anyway. So just kind of keep working on him. You know, if you're a newer player and you're sort of building out your squad, but even if you're like an endgame player and you kind of have the Haradrim, you got some resources, you're like, who should I go after first? I would prioritize Wubete followed by Robel, Bekelu, Tibeb, and then Yeftu. So I mean, Wubete and Robel are kind of like 1 for 1. He's really like the next guy I'd like to G8 once he hits 6 star. But the DPS are very important. The tank is super important. Honestly, Tibeb, she's kind of like that character in there that is, you know, you need her because of the passive and her leadership, right? Like that is what she is. But anyways, that would be the priority order I would attack this if you're looking more from like a plug and play perspective. But if you're building Haradrim as a whole, I would sort of like bring them up together, you know. I wouldn't just like all in a Wubete and then have everyone else like very low and then all in somebody else. But if you're like, oh man, I just like want X character from this squad, Wubete would be your most easily plug and playable character, followed by Robel, as like the 2 that you can kind of build up and utilize into other team comps. So let's go ahead and like talk. Let's start with the overarching list of priority as a full squad, and then we'll talk about each of the 5 characters and go into which abilities I would go first, what you need to take to 6 versus what you don't for abilities, what glyphs you should put on these characters, and then what primary stats you should have on your 4th, 5th, and 6th slot, along with what secondary stats you should really prioritize for the glyph side of things too. And spoiler alert, most of these characters are going to be your current kind of meta builds, which is your Last Stand and Bloodlust, or some of them, or one of them I believe is actually going to run Limbus because Limbus is pretty good for him. But if we go down the list, let's just talk high level. First and foremost, we'll click on the characters and we'll kind of talk about the abilities. So your first number 1 take to 6 as soon as possible is going to be your special 2 on Wubete, horizontal slash, attack all enemies for I'm not going to do the math every time I'm looking at this, but essentially you're going to attack all the enemies and you're going to inflict a 2-turn slow, which is great, and you really want that for your team. So Wubete's special 2 horizontal slash take to 6 for the first ability that you're going to go after. The next one, this is going to actually kind of suck to have to bounce around here, so I apologize, but hopefully Blue Stacks doesn't lag. So the next 2 are going to be actually Robel. So Robel's basic, the Southern Spear, you're going to take this to 6 as soon as possible. So after Wubete, you're going to go into Robel and you're going to slam Robel's basic and her special 2. You want these 2 because they both are turn meter manipulation, which is huge because between the slow and the turn meter, you get to go that much more often, right? So they're both very important. Again, I don't want to like make this a very long video, so just bear with me that we're going to kind of bounce because we're going to have to come back to these characters to look at each of the abilities and what order I would go on the character level. So again, for Robel, there's 2. So after Wubete, you get 2 in a row. It's going to be her basic, followed by special 2, the wide swing. After Robel, you're going to jump into Tibeb. And I got my notes over here, so you see my head kind of bouncing around, just trying to make sure I don't miss anything. Tibeb, you're going to go after the Southern Medicine. So obviously Tibeb's the healer. Let's get that up and get that healing. I would push this to 6. I still think it's very important you get it to 6. But again, even for like 4 for sure, because you want to be able to heal all members without a doubt. 5 and onward is just great because as a healer, you just want to get as much heals pumped out of the healer as possible. So pushing this to max is going to be great for that additional fortitude and all that additional healing. After Tibeb, after Tibeb, you're going to go to Yeftu, and you want to get Yeftu's passive to 6. And the reason you want this one to 6 is because you want that insane increase to crit chance while this character, which again, this would apply to your whole team because the passives are shared amongst all. So while any character doesn't have a Bane, they get the increased crit chance. And crit chance is huge, especially for chapter 2, because like we discussed, the cave troll loses stacks when there's crit chance on when there's critical attacks being hit. The next one would go back to Robel, and Robel, you're gonna do Robel's passive, We Fight Together. So We Fight Together is huge because at 6, you always apply Black Serpent's poison, right? And this is a passive, so on any crit, there's a 100% chance that that person is going to apply Black Serpent's poison. So you can kind of see how this is sort of like tying together, right? The poisons is a big part of their kit. The passives are shared amongst everybody, and everybody is getting these mini buffs because they're all sharing it. So you're going to get a little bit of that crit chance increase. And then when you crit, which you have a higher chance to do so, you're going to apply Black Serpent poison. And then if you look at Wubete's passive is very good with this whole kind of passive sharing ability, because his is whenever attacking an enemy with Black Serpent poison on them, you heal for up to 3% of the character's max health. So you can see how all this ties together very well. The last one that you really can kind of prioritize would be Tibeb's leadership ability. I tend to think this one's really good because it does offer a lot. Like you certainly want to get it to 3. Obviously 4, 5, and 6 is great for the additional block chance and damage, but you obviously need the first tier of it immediately because that is how you even kind of get this whole passive sharing ability activated. So those would be sort of like my tier 1. Go in that order to get them to 6. I mean, you could go 4s to 5s to 6, but prioritize those before you start worrying about getting 3 to 4, 4 to 5, or anything else. Like everything to 3. Ideally, you want everything to 4. So a lot of the assumptions here going into the character specific level and what to prioritize for abilities are going to be assuming you're going to get X to 6. And then if there's anything that doesn't really need to get that far, then those are the leftovers, right? But assuming at some point in time, end game, you're really pushing your Haradrim team as far as they can go. I mean, obviously you want everything to 6, but there's some that you can probably leave at 4, and you still get a lot of value without not too much min-maxing lost because of not having it at 6. So let's go ahead and so those are, like I said, those are going to be your core abilities to jump into one by one for the team. If you're looking at the the character specifics going into some of those things, right? So let's talk abilities, let's talk glyphs. So if we're looking at Wubete, right? Wubete, you're going to want to be considering Last Stand and Bloodlust. I won't go into the glyph screen for all these characters and go into all the, the nitty gritties besides telling you, because again, it's just, these screens just take so long to load. But from the glyphs perspective, you're going to want Last Stand and Bloodlust. So those are going to be kind of your build. And then on the bottom 3, prioritize getting 2 focus and a damage if you can. 1 focus, 2 damage, 2 focus, 1 damage. You're going to want that on this character. And then for your priorities so your secondaries that you're looking for on this, on your glyphs for Wubete is going to be focus, followed by health, so HP, armor, and then you could do crit chance, because crit chance is huge on this team, as we've talked about, but also any kind of like block mitigation or block chance, can use your tank, so some way to keep them up and keep them alive. You could also, if you're having a hard time surviving, maybe you could consider dropping Last Stand for shield wall just to get that additional kind of tankiness. But as you kind of progress and your character gets stronger, you probably drop that and get the Last Stand Bloodlust, which again, that's as of today, and assuming there's no changes to the glyphs, which we've heard nothing at all. So that would be my recommendation for the glyphs. On the character and the abilities, I would go special 2, right? So we already talked about that. The slash, huge at 6 because you're getting the slow duration and the 2-turn slow for all enemies because it's an AoE. After you do that, you do his passive, which is the Warrior's Pride. Again, we talked about that. At max level, you're getting 3% healing, and that's for everyone to share, so everybody would be able to take advantage of that passive. After that, you would do the special 1, which is your Warrior Spirit. You could take that to ability 4 or 5. So the big thing here is you're getting Bane cleansing. So at max, you're going to get 3 Banes cleansed, which is fantastic. But there are other characters on this team that do a lot of Bane cleansing. So that's not really his role on the character. It does give provoke, but the provoke is already kind of capped at, I think, 3 or 4. So you're fine to just essentially get Wubete to 4 here, and you're not really losing all that much. And then as basic, you can leave that to 4. It's just literally damage. There's nothing you're gaining on Wubete by going past 4 besides just gaining more damage. So that would be my priority list for Wubete. Again, I'm going kind of fast here, but I'm trying to not have this be a super duper long video. So Yeftu, we'll talk about him next. So Yeftu is going to be your DPS, or one of your DPS. Him and what's it called? Robel are going to be kind of like similar builds, right? Because they're both kind of doing a lot of the same stuff. But if we're going in order, from what I have on my little cheat sheet over here to discuss, Yeftu, again, Last Stand Bloodlust. If you're looking at the glyphs over here, and I actually got one, and I got it to 8 because it's literally a god tier drop. And at 8, I got 3 crit chance rolls so far. That thing is a nutty, like, take it to 10 situation on that glyph. So I'm pretty excited about that glyph. I just did it before this video too. But Last Stand, Bloodlust, you could consider Withering if they ever fix it, because again, this team's so Bane focused that it could actually be strong with that true 15% damage. But for now, just use the meta. Last Stand, Bloodlust. Again, 2 focus, 1 damage, or 1 focus, 2 damage. This is a damage dealing character. He's applying a lot of stuff. Focus is what you want so you don't miss, right? So focus is what you want to prioritize as your primaries for your 4th, 5th, and 6th slot. And your primary build here for your secondaries is crit chance, crit damage, and then focus. So those are gonna be the ones you want to have as your secondaries on your glyphs. That blue one over there literally rolled crit chance, crit damage, and focus, and it triple rolled crit chance already. I'd go into it, but I don't feel like dealing with the 14 screens to get back here. So Yeftu, so that's the glyph situation. So then if we're looking at Yeftu on what I would prioritize from a leveling perspective, passive 100% first to 6. Big crit chance increase. I think it's like 17% or something like that at max. And again, it's a passive, so it's shared across the whole team. So again, you're just trying to pile up those crits to land the crit damage, to get the Black Serpent's poison rolling, to get that self-healing across the team. Again, it's all just kind of working together. So passive is number 1, followed by special 2, which is the disabling slice. So that one you're going to take to 6 as well. That one's big because it dispels 3 boons, and it's a 400% damage when maxed out. So big damage from Yeftu on that ability. The other 2 you could take to 4, not losing a lot by going past that. Your special 1 is your Fierce Slash. So taking that to 4 is going to give you a 2-turn expose, which is really big to take, to deal more damage. 6 is nice for that stamina reduction, to be able to use it more frequently. But again, that's kind of like a luxury, a nice to have. It's not priority, at least for the first 6 to 8 abilities you really want to get to 6. And then as basic, you can take that to 4. You're getting the weaken, and then the only additional past that on Twin Tusks is just going to be more damage. So again, he's a damage dealer. It's important to have, but there are some other things I think take priority to taking to 6 first. So then we'll jump into Robel, which is going to be your second damage dealer on the team. Again, it's going to be the same glyph situation. You're going to go Last Stand Bloodlust. You're going to try and get your 2 focus, 1 damage, and you're going to try to get your crit chance, crit damage, followed by focus as your secondaries. Same thing as we talked about with Yeftu. Withering could be good when it's fixed because of the whole, Bane situation here with these characters. But for now, Last Stand Bloodlust is going to be the play. So if we're looking at the abilities, you're going to have Basic as your actual primary kind of focus point here. Southern Spear to 6 because it's big. So this character is all about turn meter. So with the slows from Wubete and the turn meter from Robel, it's fantastic. So 25% turn meter plus additional damage at max for Southern Spear at level 6. So that one's important. You're also going to be looking at your special 2, which is your wide swing. So that's a big AoE, and it's again a turn meter machine ability. So between the 2 of those, you're doing a significant amount of turn meter. This actually does help quite a bit on chapter 1 2 to be able to get those additional attacks in while you're trying to take down the bombers. So big there. The next one to 6 is going to be We Fight Together, the passive. So this one is going to be always inflicting black serpent poison, which again is very, very important. That's kind of like the whole point of this team and how they work and their cohesion. And then lastly, you can take this to 4 is going to be the Fury and Steel. So this one is, again, it's a turn meter sort of helper, but it's mostly just going to be extra damage here. And the defensive all the way at ability level 6 is, I guess, nice, but provoking and kind of defensiveness on a damage dealer is not really the primary responsibility of Robel. And then jumping right into our last 2 characters. So we got Bekelu, which is going to be your support character. So this character is again Last Stand and Bloodlust with the potential of Withering. Focus is going to be, so you're going to want 2 focus and 1 HP, or 1 focus, 1 HP, 2 HP. You could kind of intertwine those 2. Again, focus is a big deal for this team because you're really trying to apply those, all those banes to the enemies. Her kit is going to be focus as priority number 1 for the secondary stats on the glyphs, followed by crit chance, crit damage, and HP. You'll notice a theme here. Focus and crit chance are very, very important because that's the name of the game for this entire team. If we're looking at the abilities, you're going to be focusing on Serpent's Dance, which is a special 1 because this ability is kind of her primary role on the team, which is the consecration, the bane cleansing, and applying the deadly for that increased crit chance. Again, crit chance, we're looking for that. So she's kind of doing a lot of stuff with that Serpent's Dance ability, doing the consecration ability, doing some bane cleansing. So again, you have a lot of characters that offer some bane cleansing across the entire team, but this kind of feels like it's more like what Bekelu should be doing because she is the support. She's the one that should be kind of like dropping the banes on your team versus like your tank doing that, right? Tank can do it, but I'm just saying, like, kind of feels like a support type ability more often than not. So after you get your Serpent Stance to 6, your next one's going to be your Heartless Assault, the basic. So this one's going to be great because it's a 3-time attack and maxed out gives 2 stacks of poison and 2 turn duration. So very, very big, especially on the Cave Troll, because it's going to be that much longer that this guy's just constantly slammed with those black serpent poisons. Followed by that, the next couple you could really just take to 4. So you got the passive, which is the Grateful Blades, which is just an increased damage when the enemies don't have any boons. So again, spread across your team, very nice to have that increased damage, but you're just gaining a little bit more damage taking it to 6. And then special 2, which is going to be the Serpent Fangs, is another nice one, but you could take this one to 4. Max is a nice to have, but the poison is a need, and the increased damage is just really that additional luxury you're getting by taking it to 6. So you're not losing out on a whole bunch by having the Serpent Fangs not at 6. So that would be Bekelu. And then last up here is our good old Tibeb, our challenge store shop character. So Tibeb is your healer, so no surprise here on what the priority would be, but starting with the glyphs, so she is a little bit different. Actually, Lembus in Bloodlust would be my recommendation for the build. You're going to go all in on survivability. So 3 HP on the secondaries, or 2 HP in an armor, or HP and 2 armor, whatever you need to keep Tibeb alive is what you need to do, because you need that leadership ability active, right? So Tibeb being alive is the most important thing you can do here. The glyphs, again, like we said, those are the priorities. The secondaries are going to be followed by HP, armor, resistance, and then crit chance. Again, stay alive and then sneak in that crit chance if you can, if you've got the god roll, because again, crit chance is the name of the game for this team. So if we're looking at the abilities, it's going to be special 1, which is going to be that medicine, right? We want to take that to 6 100% because you want to get the extra healing and the additional allies that get the heals, etc., because that I'm sorry, not the additional allies for the healing, but for the fortitude. So you're going to want that 100%. After that, the leadership ability, you could take that to 4. I mean, it's nice to get all those additional stacks of, you know, plus stuff like the block chance and the increased damage. Obviously take it to at least 1 so you get it activated. You know, of course, right? Like, we got to make sure Tibeb's doing what the whole point of this entire team's cohesion is. Special 2 is going to be the next guy, which is your coiled serpent here. That's going to be, take it to 5. 6 would be great, right? But 5 is going to be fine because you're going to get the 2 bane cleanse. And then again, most of it is going to be for that 2-turn haste duration. So that's what you really are looking for out of that coiled serpent. And then the last 2 abilities here. So passive, the Haradrim resilience is going to be nice to take to 5 because you're always gaining regeneration. 6 is nice to have for that 2-turn regeneration stack, but again, it's a nice to have, prioritize all the other ones, getting to your 6s that we have kind of mentioned here through sort of the team overall, and then as each character's had some 6s involved. And lastly is our basic, which is just the fearless advanced, which is fine to just take it to 4, which is going to apply always giving fortitude. Maxed out, you get the 2-turn fortitude, which is really good. But again, you could probably get away with that being at 4 for some time, work on the other stuff on this team, and then bring that to 6. So kind of a long video, even though I try to shoot for a short one. I hope that was helpful. Like I said, I kind of try to keep it very high level, but really dive into all the specifics. I hope it makes sense. I hope this helps when you're deciding, oh, I want to build Haradrim. Who should I prioritize first? Which abilities should I prioritize first? What glyphs should I put on them? Which secondaries? Which you know, which primaries on the 4th, 5th, and 6th slot should I be having on those characters? Anything and everything related to Haradrim has been gone over in this video. I would have liked to go into each specific ability and show it on the screen, and then kind of, you know, talk about it a little bit more so than I did here as I ramble through the 5 characters and all their abilities, but I don't want this to be any longer than it already is. So I hope this is helpful. If you like the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.